Welcome back to the Perfect Double. We got Sammy and myself. We're going to talk to you about our week, talk about how the shooting went this week, some of the
Mhm.
things we learned, some of the things that went well, some of the things that didn't go so well. All right, Sammy. So talk to me about the shooting. How did this week go?
So, I ran the Tuesday Night Club with Noah at Artemis this week. That was very telling. I tried out a little bit of a couple different things that I wanted to work on, especially since shooting CO because I wanted a redemption week since we had a match actually today, and that went very well for me. I won it overall, but even still, like I took whatever I learned on Tuesday and applied it for this match here. So whether it was like working, the draws are just less hesitation and just seeing. Like I was talking to Kita Bussy, who was one of my coaches, and she was like, "Yeah, let the sights dictate your movement, not the other way around." So
Hmm.
I finally understood what she meant by that, and I kind of let it flow naturally. And like I pulled a 107% on the classifier on 2504, so that was nice.
Hmm.
So that will replace my really bad classifier from Lipsa last weekend, where the gun had a jam, but it's okay.
Yeah.
So we're moving in the right direction.
Yeah, man. Jams happen. Nah.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I went back to CO a couple weeks ago. I took my CZ out of the safe. I hadn't shot it since October, I think. Um, and fortunately, it went really well. I won a mini match with my CZ, and it went really well. It was telling because the things that I'm learning, even shooting, limited optics and carry optics, they differ by the magwell, really.
Mhm.
But shooting a totally different gun, the things that I'm working on are showing it no matter what I'm doing. We're working on entries and exits, transitions, and keeping the gun up. One of my big issues this past week was kind of letting my gun dictate the way. As you start to improve, sometimes you get lax. I think I got a little lax with just kind of pointing and shooting, and not letting my grip sights trigger, tell me when to shoot. And popped a no shoot. Got a jersey today from the Mohawk Killers in Puerto Rico. So I was practicing a little bit of that. Shot the no shoot right in the middle. But the other thing that I learned from my matches last week was I needed to keep the gun up more than just keeping the gun up, having the gun already be up, especially when after a long run. Sometimes I have a tendency to run fast to get to the spot and then get the gun up, wasting precious time, uh, getting to the spot and not being ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think I even DM'd you on Instagram, right? I was like,
Yeah,
"Yo,
you
keep the gun up, bro." I mean,
did.
I do the same thing. Like, you'll see, like anybody's watching, if you go to either one of our profiles, but like even the last match I had, I was looking at it and breaking it down, and I'm like, I'm seeing where I'm dropping points here. I'm seeing where I'm killing time, and that's why I like. I mean, first person view is always cool, but I prefer the third person view,
Yeah.
especially once you're at a certain level of shooting. Like you can tell Alpha Charlie, whatever it is, but to see like how you're entering into position, how you're leaving out of position, especially when you're like seeing like cool, like I could have sped this up. I could have stopped like a foot or two sooner, had the or not stopped, but I could have prepped a foot or two sooner, had the gun up, entered, and then just blasted as you came across the corner.
Hmm.
So just small things like that, they add up to a huge amount of time, especially in a large, like, I mean, we're in New York where the stages aren't as long, but when you go out to PA or you go to these area matches that we do, and you're shooting a field course of 32 rounds, you'll save easily a second, if not, 2, 3, 4, depending on how fast you are.
Absolutely. What one of the things I love about taking the videos, besides the self-aggrandizing nature
Mhm.
of putting it to fun music and posting on Instagram to get validated by my compatriots, the third person view I think has a ton of value to me, for the reasons you just mentioned. And I think the video is important and the ability to analyze what it is you're doing wrong. Uh, I think that's the part people leave out a lot of the time. When you're looking back at it, you got to look back at it with a critical view. Take a look at, are the things I'm working on in dry fire being reapplied when I'm actually running the stage. Sometimes I do them, and sometimes I don't. I'm still working on making sure that. I think that's one of my faults is detail on my stage planning. I think um, an increased amount of detail. Tom Castro, I remember in the class I took with him, he mentioned how important it was to be very detailed in each part of your plan, going back and forth across the stage because when you're making those entries, you know that your gun has to be high. You got to crash going into a certain spot. When are you going to slow down? When are you going to speed up?
Mhm.
What targets are you going to take quickly, and what targets can you afford to, grip and slap the trigger and keep going. So it was a learning experience. The value is always there as long as you learn something from
Mhm.
a tough week of shooting.
Dude, I was telling one of the guys today, I was like, even if you didn't place as high as you wanted to, like, I learned more from my failures than I do from my wins, right? Like, it's always fun to win, like, don't get me wrong. However, especially I feel like in our current level and development of where especially where we are, like, we're usually the top guys in our areas. I would rather mess up, lose, try things, especially at the local level. So when I go to these larger, area 2 matches, whatever area match we're going to, or level 2, level 3 matches, we're competing at our best ability, whether it's, M, GM, A, whatever our rank is at the time.
Yeah, 100% agree. You're a top guy in your area. I'm still working on it. The I'm still working on getting to where I can consistently, do the things the way I want. But I 100% agree. You have to be able to try new things when you're going to shoot a match, especially a local. You get caught up in the winning because the winning is fun.
Mhm,
The you're got a beating heart. And you're out there competing. You of course you want to see your name at the top every time you go out. But if you want to be great, you got to be willing to be bad, right?
mhm,
Or you got to be willing to take your lumps, because you're not saving the world winning a Wednesday or a Thursday mini match. Even the local matches that happen on weekends, your local A stage match, you're not going to change the world doing anything there. But if you want to be able to take a a certified or rehearsed and polished skill to a big match, you're gonna have to try it out. You're gonna have to do it until you can get it to work right. This past weekend, we were lucky enough that unfortunately the match got canceled. A couple of the guys went out, set up a couple stages. That doesn't happen often because it's a lot of work.
mhm.
Going out, setting up walls, setting up targets, so you can actually train the skills. Our local GM Jake Shoot, Nate Hahn, and some of the guys came out. We set up stages. We got a chance to really work some of the more difficult angles, some of the things that we're struggling with, and see how we can fix it. See what we're doing wrong. See how we can fix it. I worked on keeping the gun up, or more than keeping the gun up, not letting it come down. I had a tendency when I'm moving to either suck the gun in or to move or suck the gun in to get around something when I don't necessarily need to. And it helped a lot, actually doing it wrong and then fixing it and doing it over and over again until uh, we got it correct. 100% agree. You gotta be willing to take your lumps, and have my buddy Mike talk shit to me for the next couple of weeks until I get to shoot against him again. Uh, because he kept the gun up on that entry, going to that spot where I dropped it and had to find the sights again.
I mean, it's one match, some like, it's not it is what it is. But, like,
Right.
as long as I mean, we know that already at our level, like, we know what we're doing at this point to be like, there's other matches, there's other things coming, there's bigger events that we wanna place well at. Like, I tell all my coaches, I'm like, "Yeah, I told them this last before I became an M in anything, I was like, "I wanna be a national contender one day, like, I want to win matches, that's why I'm doing this, like, I don't wanna just be good in my area, I wanna be good nationally and globally, because that's my end goal ultimately, right? That's why we do this, or that's why hopefully some of us do this, but
Right.
in doing so, like, you have to be willing to play and learn. Like, Tom Casher's a big proponent of this. Rob Afani told me Rob is my main coach probably, I'd say. Like, he's the first person I really worked with. Like, he taught me the fundamentals of grip, and dude, I before I even when I was, like, C class, I didn't know what I was doing.
Hmm.
My grip was atrocious, I didn't know why, and then he tweaked it by, like, a hair amount, and I was like, "Now I understand."
Hmm.
So, it's, like, all these little lessons I learned from messing up that accumulates to, like, more tools in the tool shed, so then that way when I go out to these matches, I can apply different skills and, figure it out.
Right. Oh, look. One of the first things Tom hammered me on was my grip. He's like, "Why are you using this thumb rest?" I'm like, "Well, the thumb rest helps me keep." He's like, "I don't want to hear that shit." He hates the thumb rest. He had an MPA. He was playing with somebody's MPA the other day, and right after he finished shooting it, he talked about how much he hated it. I had a thumb rest on my shadow too, and it's a crutch, and and it's not a good one. I mean, for me, and a lot of people swear by it. A lot of people love them. I'm not here to tell anybody that they shouldn't use a thumb rest. I know for me personally, the size of my hands, the thumb rest hits about here,
Mhm.
and that keeps my hand from actually getting the high grip that I need on the pistol. So I end up a little bit off of the throat of the pistol where I really need the grip, where I really need to be. So once I took the thumb rest off, I was able to get that much better grip, and my second shot got so much better.
Mhm.
So instead of shooting the 50% Charlies, went down to 5 or 6 Charlies in the stage instead of that second shot being so off because I could grip it. I applied that same thing to the MPA. It's a 2011. A gun is a gun. Yeah, the 2011s are fun. They got great triggers. They're a little bit different than a hinge trigger like your CZ. But it's the same principle applies. The higher you can get up on that grip, the tighter you can wrench down on the grip, the better it's going to be. So, I that helped me out a lot.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I know Tom is big on it, but, like, even some of my other coaches were like, "Yeah, don't use a thumb rest," and
Hmm.
they're like, "You can, but once you understand what it's for and not applying it in the wrong sense." Like, Christopher Long was one of the first guys I ever worked with when I started shooting, like, back to 3 years ago, and he was like, "Take off," because I had a CZ. I still have my CZ shout out twos, they're still up on my wall. Well, I'll do a video of those one day, but again, like, I still have them and I have all the thumb rests. Like, I take them off continuously, I put them back on to see if I
Hmm.
like them. I like them for a training tool slash, like, once I have a good fundamental idea of the grip that I need. But a lot of guys, especially in the lower classes, will, like, will buy the 2011s, will buy the Atlases, but they don't understand what it's for. They try applying the pressure down, and that way they start, dropping shots, pulling mics. That's not what it's there. Like, I remember talking to, I think, Ashton, who you might use one or used one before, and he's like, "Yeah, I just use it as a rest to have it just backboard off." Like, he's not pressing pressure downwards on it. He's just letting it exist. Let it
Hmm.
float. You know what I mean? He's not applying
Yeah.
that downward pressure to where guys are now throwing the shots, especially at distance.
Right. Yeah. What did I do? I know I had lots of I've been through lots of different problems in my time shooting. I know one of the issues I found over the summer was for low ports. We're tall guys. Every time I have to lean down into a
Oh,
low
dude.
port, I end up putting pressure on the slide, right? And because I didn't have high shield safeties, I didn't have a shield on the safety, and I didn't have a thumb rest, so I malfunction. And one of the things I did do is when I didn't like the thumb rest, Joey Sauerland makes a thumb rest for or a block for the MPA that's
Mhm.
really just a shield, keeps you from resting on the slide itself, and that was huge. I started using that again, and it worked great. But the thumb rest comes on and off. Like you said, I tried the TiVo one, the
Mhm.
TiVo that's almost the
I
vertical
love the
thumb rest. I
TiVos,
like
bro. The
those a lot.
TiVos are so
Yeah.
much fun. I love those,
Hmm.
but I think at my level of shooting where I am right now in my journey, because 'cause I'm shooting all my majors in PCC, and
Hmm.
I'm shooting a lot of my pistol stuff at, like, smaller like, not smaller, but, like, at Lipside, stuff like that, where matches where I can really learn and apply the skill to. Like, I'll
Hmm.
still shoot classifiers with CO and, LO, whatever it is, but, like, I
Right.
need to really my main goal right now is to get division up to par, which is why I'm shooting PCC. I wanna get the movement down pat, which is why I'm shooting, like, both divisions, even though they're similar-ish movement, but they both require different techniques. But I am learning, like, I was talking to somebody, I was talking to, like, I think Josh Morgan, I don't know if you know who he is from Double Tap Shooting, but I
Hmm.
was talking to him briefly, and he's like, "Oh," I was like, "Put down the rifle." I'm like, "Ah, I can't do that." I'm learning too much from the dual training right now where it's like I'm still on a developmental arc. Eventually, I will have to decide, I'm a gun whore first and foremost. Like, I have a lot of guns. You have a lot of guns too, but, like, we wanna shoot everything. I understand that. But to get to grand mastery, I definitely see, like, the reasoning behind, like, pick a gun, shoot that gun, get really good with that gun, and then if you wanna decide to jump to something else, you can. Just because you
Hmm.
get that level of familiarity, like, especially with the Walters now where I'm at, like, I'm starting to get back into my groove where everything's second nature.
Hmm.
So, like, it's just from the grip, even if I don't see the dot, especially at a target that's sub 7 yards, like, I know where the dot is, just I've done the reps. Like, I've done the reps. I've shot the gun so often. I know what everything feels like from the impulse. It's just automatic. That's how I pulled the classifier today. Like, even that first shot's like 3 yards from like a low partial, and that was money. And then even running across those all alphas. So I was like, I couldn't be happier with the result.
Yeah, you shot. Yeah, I watched that video a couple times. You shot that great. The middle section. yeah, where you were coming, you were still moving, you popped in and you were gone. That it was textbook. You did a great job on that one. I always like to watch the different techniques that people use when they're running classifiers, just because it's interesting. Everybody does things a little bit different, so you see, you know, the where the different training comes into play. I really like being able to see the movement. The third person movement to me is where it is really where it's at. Seeing because your feet, the way you're holding your body, the way you're dressing targets, especially when you have to lean.
Hmm.
Um, those are all the things that you just don't get from a POV standpoint.
Hmm.
But what else? The TiVo thumb rest I liked a lot. I have one. I had one on my CZ and I have one for my 2011. My first year, I played around a lot. I love guns. That's what I'm doing here.
That's why we're in it, bro. We all love guns. We both. I know we both have a large collection of fire. Basically, every mainstream one. I think at this point. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Look, there was a point where I was building 365s because the modular and 320s, and I had one in 357 SIG, one in 40, one in 9 mil.
Hmm.
I still got a few 365s in there just because I like building them and seeing what that seeing how the different things would work, and seeing how what they added, what they took away. And the interesting thing is, the more I shoot USPSA, the more I learn about the actual function of the firearm and how it shoots, the better I appreciate some of the guns I built, and then some of them I end up selling right away because I'm like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was or what I wanted it to be. Over the summer, I switched guns a lot last year. One of my mentors up here, uh, Godfather Paul Hudson, that got me going and
Hmm.
shooting, was like, you need to pick a gun and stick to it. He was like, you show up every week with a different
Yeah,
gun.
I've heard that. I've heard that story a lot, bro.
You're getting crazy results because you don't really know the guns that well that you're shooting. I was like, yeah, but it's fun to see how the different guns do. I shot the XC. I had a Phoenix Trinity. I brought it out and shoot. I had a 10 millimeter by Triarch that I brought out and shot open major. Just having some
10
fun.
mil.
But yeah. Hey, look, well, I don't have an open gun yet, so I was like, let me see what these extra points look like.
I got you.
At
I
10
got
millimeter,
you.
it was right. One of the videos I saw from Tom the other day is like, if you're not having fun shooting, maybe you should do something else, because on the ranges you are supposed to be having fun. But there is also, if you want to grow and you want to gain a mastery of the shooting, you do need to pick a gun, because it's knowing it intimately is the beginning of trying to be great. So
Mhm. I agree, especially when you're starting to like work on skills. Like because I know how the Walter shoots, because I know how the JP shoots. Like I can focus more on the actual shooting part to where I know like cool. Like if
mhm,
everything feels good. Like I'm a very big touch sense like feel person. So like even on if anybody's felt my guns, they'll know like sometimes I'll put grip tape, like the skateboard tape, in certain spots just to have that contact
mhm.
point. So I know like if I'm misaligned, I feel something's off. I know how like I need to either change it up or tone it down or whatever it is based on how I'm feeling or what I'm feeling is a better keyword, I guess. But like that's again, that is true. Like you have
Absolutely.
to be great, you really should stick with something. On the contrary, like I learned about triggers, I learned about different guns, different things. Like I know how to fix all of them, I know how to shoot
Mhm.
all of them. And like I can pick up I know for the
Right.
most part if I pick up like a 2011 and or a CZ Shadow 2, a Glock, I can shoot all of them at a high enough level where I'm not going to be like disappointed.
Absolutely. The And let's talk about that for a second, because I know, like, I'm real into the concealed carry. I mean, I concealed carry a G17, but
Hmm.
Glock. I hated Glocks at first because I didn't know how to shoot them. I didn't know how to shoot very well, period. But when I took a week-long course, shooting Glock every day, because it was what was required. But after that, I loved shooting the Glock. I started to understand the trigger better. A lot of times people don't ever get enough rounds through some of these weapons to really understand the trigger or understand how they work. After you get your first couple cases of rounds through a Glock, that's when you start to really finally understand the trigger, understand that there's a, yeah, there's the break, but there's a right before the break, there's another notch that the trigger goes into that you can tag that you can feel. And people are like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah, you need to spend some more time with it.
Well, Glocks
Um,
especially are so customizable. I mean, the
mhm,
Gen 5s are the Gen, I think before 6 ideally, but like I picked up, I don't know if you know this, I picked up two Gen 6. I recently I bought this week two Gen 6s, two
mhm.
17s, right?
Okay.
So I need to get some guns coded, and I was like, maybe I'll shoot the Glock again because before I got heavy into shooting like last season, I was shooting the
Hmm.
Glock for like 3 or 4 months because to me, it's the best shooting tool, right? Like the gun is lighter. Even my 34s, bro, with the tungsten guide rod and the tungsten slug in the back and a
Hmm.
magwell that I had to like custom fit to it, it's still only 34 ounces. It's not like my Walter where it's a 40-ounce gun. It's not like my SIGs that are almost 50-ounce guns or my 2011s. It's lighter. The trigger does have the GPT in it, and it does have some work to it that I did, but like it's nothing crazy. It feels similar-ish to my Walter trigger, but because it's lighter weight, because the mags are harder to drop, because they just I don't know about you, but my mags don't drop fairly unless I'm doing something to them. Like, it's
No.
just it's the small things like that, though, like, I'm seeing a lot of the higher end guys shoot the Glocks, and then, like,
Hmm.
David Wempler's a perfect example, like, he shoots for Atlas, right? He's a monster in his own right, but he's shooting Glocks partially for fun, I'm assuming, but also partially because his learning from the experience. Like, it is objectively
Hmm.
harder to shoot a Glock than a 2011. I feel like that's universally a good statement to have, right? So just
Right.
having the ability to shoot different guns and, like, seeing what can you really do and what you can take away is gonna be more learning, you know what I mean? It's not a bad thing. However, to be great, like we said, you should pick up a gun and stick to it.
Yeah. I what I really love about the Glock is I think they keep you honest. With 2011, you can get away with a lot of BS with your grip and your movement and your stance because the trigger's so soft, you're ripping a shot before you have a chance to mess it up. But with a Glock, your grip has to be right to make your hits with a Glock. Especially, I run a bone stock trigger on my Glocks. I tried playing with some of the triggers in the past. I think Johnny Glock's trigger was my favorite one of most of the ones that I've tried. But in the end, I run a stock Glock trigger because that's my carry gun and for my Gen 6 my Gen 6 G17 that I carry. I've seen any trigger can break down and any gun can malfunction, but the stock triggers to me run great. I know that's might not make everybody happy, but I think they're fine. A lot of people hate them, but I think once I've gotten used to it, then it works for me. After I've had all the rounds down with it, uh, and trained with it, I know the trigger and understand it. It's a good trigger. I don't think people give it the
Mhm.
time they want it to be. They want it to be a trigger on a different gun, but that's not what Glock is. Reliability. It's a gun that's going to run. Um, I think sometimes a lot of the changes can make it into a gun that doesn't. What have I seen? I've seen some of the aftermarket triggers blow up right in the middle of matches,
Mhm.
frequently. But I think I agree with what you're saying. Though there's lots to learn from using other guns, specifically Glocks. Something that's different, something that's going to keep you honest of your mag changes. I think my CZ, the CZ's got that skinny mag. Well, you have to. Oh,
You gotta nail it on those reloads.
all right, I think. All right, I lost you for a second. I think got you there. But the with the CZ, the one thing I do like about shooting is it's going to keep you honest with your mag changes because you have
Mhm.
to with that skinny mag well, you have to bring it. You got to see it a little bit to make sure you're putting it all the way in there. With the 2011, the mag well the size of a large plate. What you call it's easy to get lazy because you don't have to give it the attention
Dude,
that it
I throw
requires.
that mag in there. It doesn't even like you're just sending it into there. It doesn't
Yeah.
even matter.
Mm-hmm. 100%. I think that's the one thing I do like about when I go back to the CZ. It's you got to have that focus. The bullets first process requires you bring that gun up, see that mag, and make sure that mag's going in there. That mag well, make sure the mag's going in. So, um, I agree. Shooting different guns can give you a different perspective, especially in training.
Let's talk
So
about
go ahead.
let's talk about the class talking about guns and classifications because I feel like this is a very interesting where like a lot of the lower tier guys, I'm not hating on anybody. I was one of those guys who thought like buying a better gun would make you a better shooter,
Hmm.
right? And the whole classification. Let's talk about classification in general because I feel like that's a whole gambit in like in its entirety, right? Like
Hmm.
people really get attached to like a classification. They want to. I mean, everybody wants to be a GM, right? Like that's what. Like I'm not doing it for the GM card. It is nice to earn it because it's a physical indication of like, yeah, I have this skill set.
Hmm.
However, I would much rather shoot well all around in matches and not really like the classification's there.
One
It's not
hundred
going to
percent.
define who I am. It's gonna be a good test and a good guideline, but it's not. It doesn't matter.
You got to up the targets either way. When you show up to the match, the stages are gonna. There's gonna be new stages that you haven't seen before. There's gonna be new skills. There's gonna be the same skills on a new platform that you're trying to try out, and you're gonna have to shoot it either way. And you got to see has what you have learned along the way given you what you need to do it at a high level. And each time that's going to be different. And everybody, the thing too is everybody has bad days. A couple weeks ago, somebody that had never seen you shoot for the first time might have seen that the malfunction you had the classifier and like, oh, he, he might not know what he's doing. And I'm like, well, that's a single sample. The classifiers are they're very short samples, I think, of what it is we're doing. And more so, they've even made them shorter for New York State, thankfully, to give us the opportunity to shoot classifiers that don't have a mag change in them, because we only have 10 round mags or any other restricted states. The true classification is can you show up to a match with a level 2, level 3 match and get on paper and shoot it at a high level. The people want to know what your classification is, but you also don't want to. I warn against going out there blasting classifier, putting up top scores at the classifier, and then at the match you can't perform at that level. You want to be able to you want to be able to shoot the classifier like you shoot everything else.
I mean, that's what it is. Like a lot of, I mean, I know a couple of guys who are like close to GM or, we have the famous saying of like paper GMs or paper M's, right? Like they practice so much for the classifier, but then you give them any other puzzle and they're a deer in headlights. Like they can shoot fast, they could,
Hmm.
they can draw fast, they can reload fast, but like they just can't put it together, unfortunately, at a stage, and then they don't finish well. And
Hmm.
it's like, well, unfortunately, it's cool that you can do it for a classifier, but it's not gonna be indicative of real life and or any shooting scenario that we have in USPSA.
Right, and it's the truth. You have to be able to show up and do and put all the skills together, and even more importantly, like building a proper stage plan. I still feel like a neophyte in the stage planning of it all. I still will go to the matches and some of the better shooters that I shoot with. I'll make my own stage plan and then I'll say how well what do sometimes I'll just go shoot it and then afterwards they'll tell me why'd you do that stupid shit. No. But at the time this was my this was my thinking of why I did what I did. This was my logic. And when I explained my logic of why I did, they said, okay, your logic makes sense, but here's what you could have done instead that might have been better because it will make your stage a little bit smoother. I I think learning how to stage plan is and learning how one skill leads into another is a big difference in how you can really get better and how you can put a whole stage together because when you get to those longer stages that have all the points and make a huge difference in your match, you need to be able to do them quickly. You need to be able to get to blend targets and blend positions so you can get out of one space and into the next without wasting a huge factor of time and not being rushed into your next spot so that your sights are off and you're yeah, that little engine in your mind's telling you, okay, I'm running out of time. I got to go now. Uh, what I was listening to what you said last week about this being a lot of a chess, and it really is. It's chess on a timer for sure. because you have to put
Mhm.
all those movements together and really um, be. It's a thinking man's game, and you have to be able to consider how one movement goes into the next and what it does to you, what it does to your stance, what it does to your gun.
I mean, that's why I mean, I shot with a good amount of GMs last year. Thankfully, like, I had the opportunity to at Area 7. I know I shot with my coach at Area 8, but I also was able to see a lot of videos, able to, like, talk to a lot of guys and pick their brain, whether it was Mason or somebody else, and I was like, "Cool, how do I apply this to make it make sense, and how do I make this flow as naturally as possible?" Like, last year, I really struggled with finding a flow for, like, the first half of the season. I didn't know what it
Hmm.
meant, and then, like, I was at Area 8, and I was shooting with Rob, and then, Mason Lane was there, who's a SIG shooter, if anybody who's watching this doesn't know. He's the team captain there, but he told me, like, "I'm focusing too much on shooting on the move," because in my head, like, shooting on the move was the best way to flow, right?
Hmm.
However, the point of our stages is what? It's time and points, right? You wanna get as many points as possible in the shortest amount of time. Sometimes it's better to not drop the gun, but drop the moving and shooting and get to it sooner and have everything flow into segments and leading shots into for blending and leading out for blending will yield a better result. And that's I mean, especially nowadays and where I'm at in my development, especially because New York is 10 rounds and you have to really think about how you're blending targets.
Hmm.
That's where I end up beating guys by a couple of seconds just by the sequencing alone. Like, I gave the homework to one of my I'm not gonna call him my guy, but, like, I like to think I'm a mentor to some of the guys in my local area, right? So, like, one of the guys, AJ, he's a very solid shooter, like, his I think a C-class shooter, he's getting better on the fundamentals, getting better on the gun handling. But, like, his homework I gave him was, like, "Yo, like, when you're doing a stage plan with one of our buddies, Grant, tell him verbatim, how are you gonna shoot this?"
Yeah.
Right? And I didn't tell him for any reason, like, to pick it apart or whatever. I told him to say that because he has a problem of, like, internalizing the plan and running the plan. And I feel like a lot of C-class shooters, B-class shooters included, even me sometimes, like, I'll have stages where, like, I'm not 100% sure, but if you can verbalize it, talk your way through the stage, and you have a plan, it's better than you walking up to the line being iffy 50-50 and not knowing what you're doing, you know what I mean?
Right. No, I 100% agree. So I won't say a bad plan. I will say the a solid plan that you are 100% ready to shoot is better than the perfect plan that you're not sure about, or that you're 50% ready to shoot, or that you're 80% ready to shoot.
Mhm,
Because you know some of the experience, some of the GMs and M's that I shoot with will tell you, I don't want to go over your plan right now because I got one plan in my head and I need to keep it. Because when the stages get get really complex, it's important to have your plan and not have other plans creeping in, because when is that second plan going to creep in? Halfway through the stage, when you get to the point where I was either going to do this or going to do that. So I try to tell new shooters, I'm like, stick to your plan that you've got. You've been sitting here, we've been over here for the last five shooters. You had your plan, you liked it. Don't chase what you saw someone else do. Don't, right now in the middle, unless you think you can apply it, which that never worked for me when I first got started. If I was like, oh, I like that, I'm going to change my plan. I always ended up getting to that spot, freezing, and then moving forward. So I definitely agree. Keeping a plan, knowing what you're going to do, executing it, that mental rehearsal, that six or seven times. I
mhm,
know one of my mentors over here said, close your eyes, review the plan in your head. You should, when you're stepping up to the line, you should know everything you're going to do uh, throughout the stage. You'll see some of the good shooters will get up to the line right before they make ready. They're counting their targets. They know where they're going to do the things, so they rehearse it one last time
mhm.
mentally before they rip it, because that's what it's going to take to keep that plan in your head and make sure that it's solid. Because once you get out there and start forget that the bullets start flying and you start forgetting what you're going to do next, and your stage falls apart really fast.
Well, dude, even for me, like, I've been focusing as of recently, right? I'm watching my videos, I'm like, some of my entries have a lot to be desired, right? Like, I know what I have to do, and then the answer is shoot it sooner. I'm like, why am I not being able to shoot it sooner? It's because I'm having too much dot movement on the entry. it's not stable enough. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like I've been on my walkthrough specifically, especially with PCC, because now I'm swinging around an 8 pound weight like around. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
like my gun heavy. But like if if I'm entering, I'm like, cool. I have to have the leg stable. I have to brace the leg in this position on
Hmm.
this movement on this entry to get positive shots at a faster rate, and then I'm gonna push off that leg to exit, and then whatever the next array is, I already have it like pre-planned with the steps and where I'm gonna step,
Hmm. No,
and
that
that's been
I've
helping
been.
me. And I'm at, I'm at a I'm decent overall at my current level, but like I want to be able to make this automatic, and I'm not at that point yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. I One of the things one of the guys was harping on me about was when it's we're shooting indoors right now, so a lot of the stages you're running on one side and you're running to the other side. But one of the things that
Hmm.
I often do is when I'm booking to the one side, and on the case that where I do have my gun up like I'm supposed to, I get there and then I stand up, which is waste. When I'm watching the video, I'm like, I wasted a whole second after I ran over there, get it while I was low and then standing up to shoot. And I could see it in my video. I could see it in the dot. I remember even seeing it in the dot. I got to the spot, then I stood up, and then I had to aim again. So one of the things I've found in my entries is if I'm running, I'm moving low, stay low, shoot the array, and that your leg is already loaded for movement, and then move out. Um, I think that was one of the things that I'm still working on, but it was one of the major things I noticed about my entries that needed work outside of making sure the gun already being up, aiming through the fence as I go, but making sure that I'm not getting there and over settling, I say, by getting to the spot, then standing up again. Stay where you are, load, move out. The
You're doing the
I
levels too much. You're changing levels a little bit too often.
Right. So the level change was hurting me. Now, tell me about something you had to do to work on your exits when you're exiting position. Do you the I know I learning how to learning how to the leg loading for exits where I wanted my feet to be on entry so that I was ready
Hmm.
to leave the spot, was a big thing that I worked on with one of my buddies, Matt Wolf. Um, Making sure I know JJ Rakaz is a big fan of the three step walk in as you're entering the position. You break down the three steps, you get in, and you're getting out.
I think right now in my current development, I'm not 100% solid on it, to be honest. However, I do know what I need to
Hmm.
get the reaction I want, right? So like in the classifier, I knew I had to, after that first shot, I have to move stable, I have to move strong, I have to move in a consistent level. Besides the ending part, because the ending part I'd fly forward anyway. I knew I had to. So what I did was I did a split stance. I got a little bit lower. I stayed level throughout the two boxes, and then once I got to the end, I came up a little bit, but that's fine because I'm already shooting out of the shooting area. But I programmed in my walkthrough, I programmed in my make ready that split stance. Usually I do an even stance when I'm shooting, like a neutral stance. But me knowing I had to go diagonal across and forward,
Hmm.
especially, and I wanted to be powerful but controlled, I had to do that stance to get the result that I wanted. So like even like especially on large movements with PCC,
Hmm.
because again I'm coming in hot with more weight, right? It's not a pistol. I'm really focusing on how many like not I don't want to say steps, but like how much momentum I need to break and where my leg needs to be for the final position so it does crash and I do land on it, not absorbing it and bouncing around. You know what I mean?
Hmm. 100%.
So
The
it's getting
I know
better, but
for
it's just
for my
again like
entries. Sorry, it cut out a little bit, but go ahead, finish your thought.
so it's like it's just the entries and the like exits are easier because exits I know I'm reacting on like so Sam Callahan's big on shooting on the dot left, right? Like Sam told me that. Kita just told me today, like she watched one of my videos. She's like, I know what you're thinking there. I'm like, Kita's great because she's a moving coach. So if you have a chance to train with Kita, like I highly, highly recommend doing it. Because she's probably one of the best
Yeah.
like movement slash vision coaches that I have worked with, right? So, but
Hmm.
like she watched my video, she picked apart what I was thinking. Cause I'm very big on being um conscious, right, of what I'm doing at all times. especially with a gun in my hands, but in general, like I want to know how I'm moving, what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, what I'm thinking about. And she was like, "You were thinking too much about the retreat step on this first draw and you delayed." I'm like, "Yeah, that's exactly what was going on because I was not sure how I felt about, taking 2 steps back, shooting 2 open targets at like 10 to 12 yards, and then coming over a hard lean to shoot a partial." So I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "We're gonna work on that when I see you." I'm like, "You got it, coach. Like whatever you say is what I'll do." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Sam's thing is like, shoot off the dot lift. So for exits, right? Tap, tap. As soon as the dot lifts, I'm already moving. My head's looking at the next target. I'm already bleeding with my shoulders.
Mm-hmm. No, excellent. Yeah, that's one thing I had to work on. I was so ready to leave on that second shot that I was found myself pulling, and you could tell what all my exit shots were because I would have a Charlie that was getting ready to float off the paper um, on my exit shot. So working on making sure that I'm not moving, I'm not leaving until that dot raises, then head out. Um, Patience I find is in in a sport where the desire is to do everything as fast as possible. Patience is an extremely important thing. Um, it's when you shoot hoser matches and things like that, it's fun to just pop, 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 because you're pulling the trigger as fast as you can, as your finger can pull it. But in all reality, you're waiting on that dot. You're waiting for the to get that A zone before you pull the trigger. And I think having that patience, on entries and on exits, makes a world of difference. Making sure you're getting the hits you want. Tom has he has a methodology he calls the crash. Um, when you're entering a position, a lot of times we're rushing to get to the spot. Gun isn't ready. Gun isn't up. Bullets aren't in the gun. It's like, well, what are we doing all that rushing around for if we're not ready to shoot? Number one, and a lot of coming. So with the bullets first methodology, on my entries, I felt like I learned, hey, we're mag changing right off that last shot. After we exit, I'm exiting right into my mag change, and instead of just full sprinting to the spot, once you're in a position to see the target or be able to shoot through the wall at the target, he's like, that's where you start, where you get into your smooth, quick steps so that you can start shooting. Um, and I learned, like as you mentioned earlier, there's a time for that shooting on the move to chew up that time and still get your alphas, and then there's a time to get there and get your points and get out.
Mhm. Yeah, man, I'm training with Tom,
So
I
what do you
think
got
in
coming up this week, Sam?
the end of next month. Let me see what's on the
Okay,
schedule.
yeah, when's he coming out there to you
I
guys?
have Tom's class is going to be happening in May. So I'm very excited for that because I do Tom's class and then Kita Bussey's Train Smart class. And I have a small break and then I'm into like big level twos. But this week, all I have for shooting wise, where are you going for Tom's class?
Tom, he's coming up here to Rochester.
Gotcha. Yeah, he's
Where
coming to Staten Island
where are
for a
you taking?
weekend, so I was able to book the class
Okay, cool,
in Staten Island. So I'll be able to
awesome.
to learn from him, which I'm excited for.
Hey, uh, Tom was a very gifted coach. I thought he did a really good job. He was very high energy. He definitely. I mean, he reminded me of an old coach from playing sports growing up. He kept it. He was 100% honest with you. This is what you need to do to fix what it is you're doing and to do the shooting better. And that's just what it is. Um, the I thought his style was great. I appreciated it. I appreciated how frank he was with some of the stuff because you're going to learn from somebody who shoots a lot and knows what they're talking about. I didn't. There was no need to question or what have any or argue with him about the stuff he was saying. As soon as I started trying the things he was teaching me, they worked almost immediately. So I appreciated this class a lot. So what do you? But go ahead with what do you got shooting wise this week?
So this week I'm teaching tomorrow. So I'm teaching a couple of guys, which will be fun because it gives me the opportunity to test out some of my skills, but also like I know the guys I'm training with, I know where they're weak at, so I know where to push them. And then, or not weak at, but like need some work at. And then one of them is exits, so we'll do a whole segment on exits tomorrow, which will be fun. And then Tuesday I have league, and then I don't believe there's any other matches happening until next month, unfortunately. But that'll be my weekend or my week of shooting for this week.
Awesome. Yeah, Tuesday I got my regular steel match. That's one of the first things I started doing. That was the first competition anything I ever did. Was just going out there shooting the steel. It's not super complex or super difficult, but it does. But one thing it did teach me was timing. Instead of the double taps with USPSA, it was more of a you got to hit them in a certain order and move out. But I still enjoy it, so I still go on Tuesdays. This week I've got a busy week, so I'm not going to get a chance. I don't have any matches coming up. I do have a match on Sunday, but during the week it's going to be a heavy dry fire week for me.
So I do dry fire almost every day just to get, even if it's like 5 minutes a day, it just helps build the familiarity and skills.
Absolutely. Now, what do you use when you're dry firing? Do
Are you
you
guys
do you
finally
have do you use
outdoors
the
yet?
little three?
What is it?
So we are not outdoors yet. It is still cold. The weather canceled the match this past weekend, but me and some of the guys who don't mind the cold so much, we set up a couple stages. We ran them. It was still an opportunity to learn, get some rounds down range. One of the older guys laughed at me. He said, "Wherever the gun smoke's in the air, you show up." Huh? I'm like, "Yeah, that's kind of my thing. We're here to do the shootings." But no, we're not outside yet. Hopefully, April will be put an end to the madness, um, and we'll be outside doing some more shooting. But this Sunday coming up, it's another indoor, another 4 stage indoor match.
There you go. It's better than nothing, right?
I will take it. All right. So thanks, guys, for joining us once again on the Perfect Double. We'll be back in a week or so, talking about how our weeks went, talking about the matches, what we learned from training with folks and shooting out on the range. Thanks again.
Thank you guys. Till next week.